So, guys, this is my review for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Season 1, Episode number 8. With that, guys, let's dive right into it. So, the title of this episode was called Bloody Battle, JoJo and Dio. And it was a really good episode. There was a couple of spots I was just like, that kind of doesn't make any sense. But let's kind of just talk about it. So we get to the point where I know in my review yesterday was talking about in episode 7 that the girl in the castle, I wasn't sure who it was, that was there, that was still like human, that it wasn't turned into a vampire, that was at the castle under being like watched by Dio and his vampires. But we find out that that's Poco's sister, walking into the beginning of episode 8. And once again, another RIP, Dyer. He literally goes to use his attack, his where he splits, he does like a split, but it's like your hands are there like holding his split or whatever, and he goes to use his one of his attacks that Shueisha was saying that nobody has been able to escape from. Now, originally when I first saw this, I was like, well, hold on. At the end of episode 7, JoJo pretty much got out of it, but technically he didn't. He didn't even allow Dyer to even do the attack. He just headbutted him. I want to say it was like more of a natural reaction from the headbutt, do an anime headbutt. But here with Dyer using his special attack against Dio, that wasn't the case. Dio pretty much blocks it. He freezes mostly his entire body except for his head, and then shatters his body again. So RIP, as right now, but Dyer was able to use one last attack to basically use one of the roses where his head landed in, and use some Hammond energy to throw it at Dio, and it hit his right eye. But definitely here in this episode, I definitely like the fact that in all of Dio's like calmness, his demeanor and all of that, because he feels like he's like superior and above everybody else because of this power that he has, that here in the episode, that that demeanor stuff, it changes, it shifts back to the Dio that we've known for since his introduction, where he basically has a bit of a temper tantrum. He has a temper, he has anger issues and stuff like that. He still shows that here in episode 8, and Speedwagon basically notices too that we see that Dio reverts back to the Dio that we've known since episode 1. So here, because Dyer was able to do one last attack before he physically dies, and throwing that rose at Dio's right eye, and it sticks him in the eye, he pretty much just like literally like says like screw that, y'all pissed me off, I'm having my vampires attack y'all and kill y'all or whatever. But with that too, during the fight between Dio and JoJo, which was a really good fight, there was a lot of back and forth between the two. That Dio was basically, I found it interesting that Dio was saying like, yeah, like even before they fought, he was like, yeah, like I felt like turning you into a vampire would be, would be less of me, less of you. That's not good enough. You have, basically saying like you have to die, and JoJo basically responding and saying the same thing. Like basically like because of their hatred for each other, like you have, between the both of them, you have to die. It's just something that has to happen. But because they continue to fight, that Dio takes his left hand, grips the neck of JoJo because JoJo stabbed him with his sword because he used the hammer, split him in half a little bit, which I found interesting. I was like, oh well, he must be dead, but that's not the case at all. We see that Dio is still strong enough to be able to freeze JoJo's hands and stuff, and even including his feet, his legs. That Dio was, again, like I said, he was able to use his fingers to do what happened to him when he turned that random guy into a vampire using a mask. I believe it was in episode 3, if I remember correctly. And we got the first intro of the vampire, of somebody being turned to a vampire predator mask, and that person that grabbed Dio by the neck and putting his fingers into his neck. So basically, the same thing happened here with Dio doing the same thing to JoJo here in episode 8. But I did find, again, I found it interesting that this occurred, and I was sitting here thinking because JoJo sliced off the right arm, hand of, roughly half of his arm of Dio's right arm, that I was thinking like, well, can he regenerate his body? But that's not the case. But he could get his arm back. He was able to get it back. But luckily, I felt like it was luck that played into it, that because they were outside, because they were near like some fire, that when JoJo sliced Dio in half, the sword was the part of the sword was sticking on the back end of Dio, and it was actually inside the fire that was sitting behind Dio, so he was able to melt his arms away because he was able to use some Hammond energy to melt his arm. I think he was using Hammond energy to use the fire to melt his arms and be able to free himself a little bit. But with that, we do get a chance to see JoJo using even much stronger attack of Hammond energy that Zeppeli had given him. I definitely forgot to mention that I do like the fact that Straizo got into it with some of the vampires. He did his thing. Tom Petty I felt like Tom Petty did a little bit of fight, like he just like attacked a couple of vampires, and then that was it. So I didn't really get a chance to see any like cool moves or anything from him. But Straizo did his thing. I felt like he did his thing. But I like the fact that JoJo does this attack, and it's like a final attack from both him and Dio. They're like yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna end you. They're both basically saying this, but Speedwagon's basically saying like, is he gonna be able to do it? Is he gonna be able to do this attack? And he literally charges both of his hands with the Hammond energy to do this final attack while Dio is charging in from the air, and he actually does indeed break through Dio's attack and hits him, and to the point that he hits his face, he hits his arm, and he's like, his body is part of his body, like right, the right side of his part of his body's falling apart. I think his legs too, or something like that. And he's like saying like, I was supposed to live long last for centuries and stuff like that. And he does this last attack from his left eye, that shot into the air like a laser, and it shot through JoJo's hands. So I'm kind of curious about that, like wondering what that actually was. Like, was it just a laser attack, or was it something else? Now, granted, Dio falls down from the side of the castle, falls down, I guess I want to say towards the ground, towards a forest, towards some lake or something. I don't know. They don't show it. So we don't actually see, like, we just see Dio falling. We see him screaming and falling in pain, but we don't see him die. So I'm going to sit here and say at the end of this video that Dio is still alive. He somehow survives. 8 episodes in, he's to me per this first season, he should be JoJo's main villain for most of this season. But again, if Dio has died officially, then I felt like we should have seen that truly occur. But again, we see Dio's body fall down, but we don't see him officially fully die. So I think Dio's still around. He may pop up maybe a few to several episodes down the road of this first season, but I just feel like Dio's still alive. But again, if he is dead, that's an interesting way for him to die. We just don't see him officially die. That's just what I'm trying to say. So and I do like the fact that JoJo is in tears because he's like, he even says like Dio, as he's watching Dio fall, and he's crying, and then he faints because he's tired out. It's just that emotional, still having that emotional attachment from when they were kids. So it just shows me that JoJo still had some small part of him that still cared for Dio, even though Dio was a piece of trash to him. So I found that very, very interesting indeed. But what an episode, guys. I enjoyed episode 8. I really did. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's to come in episode 9 and 10 and moving forward to this first season. But with that, leave some comments in the comment section below. What did y'all think of season 1, episode 8? When you first sat down to watch it for the first time, let's talk about some things. But other than that, I will hopefully talk to you all next time with more JoJo's Bizarre Adventure season 1 videos. Peace, guys.